Welcome everyone to Aircraft Carrier aka CV101 in World of Warship Blitz. My name is Starbuck and let's get this show on the road.
This is your Tier 6 Japanese carrier, Ryojo. As you can see from her size, she is quite a small carrier compared to others. However, don't be fooled by appearances. This is a very potent carrier and deceptively powerful at this tier. As part of your progression on the Japanese tech line, you now also have a squadron of 3 fighters under your command. That's a total of 4 squadrons in the air at one time possible, just like the US tech line from Tier 9. The amount of planes you can control is all about skill and trust in your abilities. This guide, like all the others, are here to remove the complicated aspects of using carriers and unlocking the maximum potential from Japanese CVs. With the Ryojo, your aggressive capabilities have increased compared to the Tier 4 Hosho and Tier 5 Zuiho. Essentially, you're at now the tip of the spear. You must be fast and precise with your strikes while distracting and shooting down enemy planes. On that note, although you now have fighters available, your counterpart in the US Navy, the USS Independence of Tier 6, has far more powerful fighters than you. Avoid direct engagement by baiting those fighters over friendly ships or your carrier. Also, with the possibility of matching against Tier 7 ships that boast powerful anti-aircraft, I highly recommend that you carefully select targets in matches where you are up against Tier 7 anti-aircraft ships. With that introduction out of the way, let's check the equipments you must take. For the Elite bonus, I have selected Elite Torpedo Squadron to boost your torpedoes bomber's health pool and reduce their preparation time. Remember, the strength of Japanese carriers are their torpedo bombers. The stronger they are and the faster they can be rearmed will give you more occasions to inflict maximum damage. For the equipments, in the first slot I have purchased Ground Service System Modification 1. This is a reduction in preparation times for all of your squadrons. Compared to the other options, I'm of the opinion that the faster your planes can come out, the better. This option, however, does limit the number of planes you can sacrifice. In the second slot, I have purchased Air Defense Modification 2 to increase my anti-aircraft power. I bait enemy fighters over my CV in most games. To shoot them down faster, it is of course then logical to increase my carrier's anti-aircraft damage. And in the third slot, it is Torpedo Modification 1. This is more of an anti-destroyer and CV sniper option. You may wish to select another option, like the boost to your traverse speed. With the equipments listed, let's go wreak havoc. So, in this battle we have a Tier 6, Tier 7 situation. Not too many powerful anti-aircraft ships except for that Colorado. The others would have to play aground. Now, this is an interesting map. For carriers, you're often going to have to try and find destroyers either on the right-hand flank or the left-hand flank. Send your fighters down the middle to bait the enemy fighters. So as per procedure, when having multiple aircrafts, I send out 1 dive bomber and 1 torpedo bomber, one after the other, to scout out and then use the second squadron to maintain visibility and extra damage on the initial target. So my fighters haven't engaged his fighters, but they have found the enemy's dive bombers. So unfortunately I'm going to have to then target this enemy Miyoko, who is controlled by a bot. But I've also discovered the destroyer, so I can send out my second squad of dive bombers, to attack. So what I've done with the fighters is completely annihilated that dive bomber squad, rendering them completely ineffective. So I'm going to try and bait those fighters. And once I've seen that the enemy fighters have been pulled, I press the return button there at the bottom right hand corner. So I'm going to keep pressure on that Mahan. After all, destroyers can be a bit of a threat, especially when you are to your battleships. So your duty as a CV is to make sure that they fall as fast as possible. So there we go, the enemy bot is killed by our friendly bot, getting the first strike, 1 medal less. I'm going to maintain pressure on the enemy fighters and bombers using my own fighters. Of course, the more you can shoot down, the less damage that carrier can do, the better it is for your team overall. And as you can see, I've already shot down 6, which is fantastic news. Really applying pressure to that Mahan, taking him more or less out of action. You see, my battleships now have more or less free roam on that right-hand flank. So now, as per usual with my Japanese carriers at these lower tiers, it's time to assist my friendlies. See, that Nuremberg is put himself in a bit of a sticky situation. There is crossfire coming from battleships in the middle, that destroyer applying pressure, and now the carrier as well. So, still using my fighters effectively. As you can see, there's only 5 in your carrier. You better use them as effectively as possible, because if you run out, you're out, and you're not being very helpful to your friendlies. So here we go. I'm going for a full attack on the Nuremberg, sending out all the planes that I have, pressing that return button to really get a perfect angle. And look at that, 2 fires and a flood all in one strike. 4 bombs hit, it's perfect. And this is the strength of Japanese carriers. There are opportunities sometimes where you'll see that when attacking in a full well with all of your planes, you will cause excessive amounts of damage. And there you go, that Nuremberg falls. Great job, team. And now we can focus on, I believe it is a Colorado. Yes, it is a Colorado. So this, you see, is a bit more of a threat to me because, well, being a US battleship, it boasts stronger anti-aircraft compared to the other ships that are there. So now it's time to apply pressure. It's the one closest to our base. It's also a threat to me. Let's make sure that it goes. But you see, I'm still maintaining pressure with my fighters. See, I've shot down now 12 planes. And hopefully there'll be another few more planes with these fighters that I'm going to try and bait. And I've seen through the mini-map, using the mini-map, that they've moved towards my fighters. Our friendly guys now is putting on pressure. Torpedoes coming all around on that Colorado. I think it would be prudent for me to leave that target be and now focus on something else. Yes, unfortunately, we're 3 minutes in the battle and I still don't have a kill. And yet, look at that. 10 torpedoes, 2 floods, 12 bombs, damage, 3 fires. It's really been a good battle. Oh well. So, what's happened here is my fighters have taken a bit of a hit. I've decided, you know what, best thing to do is to keep them as effective as possible, bring them back in, and then send them out as a full squad. Now, it's been really no mercy for the enemy at the moment. So this Mahan's about to eat 3 torpedoes. His traverse system is ruined, and there you go. Fantastic bombing run there. Well, I keep saying that the Japanese bombers are weaker, and I think this video is proving the contrary. No, it's very RNG based, even more so than the Americans. Do not ever rely just solely on your dive bombers to do the job for you, even when you have your commanders with the extra 10% to their effectiveness. So, with 2 minutes left of the battle, we are now capturing the enemy base. I can advance far more forward to join the rest of the action and sink the enemy Ryojo. 40k damage. 1 enemy sunk. The destroyer, it's been a very good battle. So there goes down that torpedo bomber. That's 16 planes shot down in total. Will I be able to get this last wave in before he is killed? It's going to be a tough one to say, tough one. So torpedoes sent, dive bombers striking, and 3 hits, 6 hits, another fire, and it would seem that the Shores takes the kill. However, I maintain the battle star, Starbuck, MVP with the Ryojo. By looking at this first result screen, we can just see how I've done compared to my teammates and the enemy. So first of all, let's look between the 2 carriers in this battle. 16 aircraft destroyed, 51 damage for me, and 1 ship sunk, compared to the enemy Ryojo with only 12,000 and 2 aircraft destroyed. It was a pretty brutal comparison in the end. I think the numbers speak for themselves. I probably have a lot more experience compared to the enemy CV, so I apologise that he had to have the unfortunate luck to face off against me. But based on his play style, you would see that he didn't use his fighters effectively. He probably selected the wrong targets with his planes and was, by the looks of it, very far from the action in comparison. Even if my own team moved closer towards him, he wasn't in the right positions to be. My friendlies did very well. I think we focused the targets pretty effectively, and GG to everyone. In this results screen we can have a little more specific look at how I did. So a total 20 bombs hit, 16 torpedoes have been hit, 16 aircraft destroyed, 5 fires, and 2 floods and 2 modules damaged. This has been a really good battle, I must admit, for tier 6. But even with all those bomb hits, as well, I needed to check that the torpedo damage has completely outdone it by over 10,000 damage. This is like really powerful. And it's the same with flooding. This is why it's so crucial to get those floods when you're playing as an IG and CV, because that's 6,000 damage over time, on top of the 28,000 with your torpedoes. You are going to start accumulating a lot of damage from that, especially at higher tiers where battleships and cruisers start having far larger health pools. That flooding damage over time is just devastating, especially compared to fires. With fires, you're going to need 2, 3 before they become really effective, whereas with floods, just the one causes an awful lot of damage. And this is what I'm trying to explain. Your dive bombers are more for scouting and that little bit of extra damage. Your effectiveness comes from your torpedo bombers, and I really hope that you can understand that from this video.
That's it for today's CV's class. I hope with this information you have learned a few new tips and tricks and are ready to join battle with me or against me in World of Warship Blitz. Until next time, this is Starbuck.